Hi there, this is Ken Godevanis, and this is also Kenny's Carrots number 31. Today we're continuing our study of what Christopher Watkin has to say in his great book, Biblical Critical Theory. I want to talk to you today about the original sin of Adam and Eve and how God's grace was at play even back then on day one. The original sin of Adam and Eve and God's grace. Listen to what Christopher Watkin has to say. Here goes. He says, in fact, in the light of what we read, we can also discern 4 further signs that reveal how, despite God's judgment on their sin, Adam and Eve are also the recipients of God's kindness. And he gives us 4 ways that takes place. Number 1, although the serpent is cursed directly by God, Adam and Eve are not themselves cursed. Take special note of that. Their mandated creation roles, multiplying to fill the earth and subduing the earth, will become painful, but God does not say to them, "Cursed are you," as he does to the serpent in chapter 3, verse 14. Number 2, God gives Adam and Eve the feeling of shame at their sin in the same way that he gives us the feeling of pain when we injure ourselves, to help us to understand what is harmful. Chapter 3, verse 10, and also chapter 2, verse 25. Number 3, God himself makes clothes for Adam and Eve. Chapter 3, verse 21. He does that to cover their newly shame-inducing nakedness. Quote, how could he better demonstrate that he wishes to remain the God of sinners for their good and not for their ill? Question mark, quotation marks. Interestingly, biblical scholar Derek Kidner suggests that we see here the beginning of the tradition of Christian benevolence and care for the needy. Quote, social action could not have had an earlier or more exalted inauguration, end of quote. The clothes that God provides also replace the inadequate coverings that Adam and Eve try to patch together for themselves. In a pattern we shall see repeated again and again in the Bible, human efforts to cover guilt and sin fail. But God himself provides a covering. Quote, the priest will make atonement, literally covering, for them for the sin they have committed, and they will be forgiven. End of quote. Leviticus chapter 4, verse 35. And number 4, the 4th way God shows his grace. The clothes with which God provides Adam and Eve are made of animal skin, and thus require the shedding of blood through the killing of an animal. Many theologians have seen in this act the first faint glimmer of the sacrificial system that points forward to the reconciliation of God and human beings at the cross, and the principle of substitutionary atonement. The animals die for Adam and Eve's sin. There you have it. So even in the very midst of the curses of Genesis chapter 3, it is clear that sin will not be the final word in the Bible story. Sin is not, in essence, original. The theological notion of original sin means that all human beings after Adam inherit sin and its consequences, that in Adam all die. 1 Corinthians 15, verse 22. It does not mean that sin is there at the beginning of creation. At the end of this dark chapter, we hold on to the hope that its curse will not be the final word. Friends, God's grace is incredible. It's present here today. It was present in the day of Adam and Eve, and it will continue to be present. Pay attention to it. Accept it. Thank God that you can be saved from your sins. Have a great one. Again, this is Ken Godevanis. If you like what you're seeing, please like our video and also subscribe to our YouTube channel, Digging for Scriptural Gems. Till next time.